Well, Detroit, Michigan is, of course, one of America's great cities, right? Not so much anymore. The Motor City, home of Motown, may be headed into bankruptcy court. Detroit's emergency financial manager is a very busy man these days. He says that his beloved city is nearing financial ruin at this point, and that could mean no paychecks for workers, no pension benefits, and extreme cuts in services.
On a cash flow basis, yeah, we don't have it. I mean, we're broke. What is clear from my report today is we can't continue doing what we've been doing.
All of us are going to have to continue to participate if we want our city to come back and be healthy again.
Well, the city currently owes more than $14 billion. Much of that is unfunded pension obligations. Unemployment in Detroit is at 17.5%, well above the national average. Detroit's population has dwindled to 700,000 people. That's the lowest it's been since 1910. Let's bring in Fox Business Network's Charles Payne. What a sad story this is, Charles, and what are the lessons here?
There are a lot of lessons learned. Detroit, once called the Paris of the West, peaked in 1950. Really, it did. Population and everything else. And it was such a rich city that they started to embrace the idea that everything should be lavish, from pensions to city buildings to things like that. It's one of the epicenters of progressivism, which helped the workers initially. But then again, there's an equilibrium to everything. It feels like maybe the pendulum went too far. Obviously, from what your introduction was, pension obligations or promises were way too lofty, way too lavish. And then some of the other things that made it expensive. Taxes were too high. And it just made it an uncompetitive city. So, population went from 1.8 million in 1950 to where it is now. And it's really devastating.
It is devastating, and they're at a tipping point. They're either going to be able to tighten their belts and figure out a way to rebuild this city, or it's going to be like one of those, once great cities that you visit in other parts of the world where it's just sort of overgrown and it's gone. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. It could be a modern ruin, if you will, to American industrialism. The thing is, it's already done. I mean, it's believe it. There's no idea of saving the city per se. Right now, what they need to be working on is how to rebuild the city, how to bring it out of the rubble, and that's going to be a tough call because it's going to need the sort of austerity kind of thing that was at least initially promoted in Europe, the kind of stuff that sent youth into the streets, sent riots and Molotov cocktails. It really is that same circumstance. They've got to figure out a way. They're going to have to cut back on services, even more than they've cut back already, and probably, in my mind, lower taxes. You've got to lure businesses in there. Yeah. You've got to make it attractive it doesn't have the population base, the tax base, to be one of these states, a welfare state, and they don't have the ability to print money.
You say that there are at least 77 blocks in the city where only a single homeowner, think about that, a single person paid their taxes on the entire block. And I do want to get your thought. I mean, that's a stunning fact in and of itself. But I want to get your thoughts on one other thing, and that's where that China has been investing heavily in Detroit. Is that potentially a good investment for them? And what does that tell us about the big picture here in the U.S.?
I got to tell you something. I grew up in Harlem in the 70s, and there were blocks where they were completely rubble, burnt out buildings for years, for decades. Whoever owned those buildings, those lots, and just paid the taxes on them, it took them 20, 30 years. But right now, all of those are multi-million-dollar properties. Dan Gilbert, the founder of Quicken Loans, has made huge investments there. He's probably going to be the American savior if it's possible. But even that might only create oasis. In other words, he's building this area. He's bought 9 buildings. He's got 3 parking lots, the old Federal Reserve building. What he's doing is amazing, magnificent. But it might create an oasis amongst the ruin. For this city to come back completely, they've got to lure in business. And to do that, they've got to lower taxes. They've got to be honest with people. And they've got to be able to sell this to people who were born in the city and never enjoyed the beauty of it, never enjoyed the boom times. And they have to be sold on the idea that, you know what, you're going to have to pay a heavy price if we're going to completely come back.
That is the big question mark.
That is a big question mark.
Are people willing to do what it takes to bring that city back? And we'll see. Boy, Charles, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Martha.
We'll see you soon.